So now what I'd like to do is introduce, if I might, let me just get rid of this poll. I would like to introduce Izumi Nakamitsu. Great pleasure to have you with us. Under Secretary General of the UN, High Representative for Disarmament Affairs for the last 3 years. She's previously worked inside and outside the UN on the UN Development Programme in the Department of Peacekeeping Operations. And those of you who follow RUSI events will know that she's spoken at RUSI before on emerging technology. We really enjoyed having you, and it's good to have you back again on a similar theme. So although today has been discussing very heavily, has been discussing issues of next generation sustainment and so on, we want to also track back now, I think, to discuss some of the issues that we raised yesterday. And I know that you're going to talk as well about the Office of Disarmament Affairs efforts in encouraging youth and so on. So really much looking forward to your contribution, Izumi, and I think it's time for me to hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Tom. It's wonderful to be here, I should say, connected across the Atlantic through this virtual means. Obviously, I would like to start with my sincere thanks to RUSI for this opportunity to speak with you today. And one serious remark, I think RUSI has been conducting this kind of forward-looking thinking on the strategic issues of the day for almost 2 centuries now. So congratulations. And I think today's topic yet again really exemplify that. So at the outset, I should make clear that I am not a technological expert, as you know. So I cannot give technical responses about the technologies we are discussing today. So instead, I will try to focus on a broader political and security challenges that are related to those technological challenges. And the second caveat I always try to make in the beginning is to stress that many of those transformational technologies redefining our world have, I would say, predominantly beneficial applications, including in terms of serving the goals of disarmament, non-proliferation, and arms control. And indeed, we should be talking more about that as well. But as usual, I will also have to focus on the, if you will, dark side of the issues. And that is because, unfortunately, ceaseless efforts to apply developments in science and technology to weapons are enhancing existing risks and creating also new risks as well, including increasing the possibility of nuclear weapon use, God forbid. These developments are both the product of and exacerbate an international environment characterized by decreasing trust and transparency, and also by a preference for competition over cooperation, unfortunately. So taken all together, developments in a variety of technologies are diminishing predictability, shared understandings, and trust, while raising the risks of misperception, arms races, and potential escalation through miscalculation as well. While there are intergovernmental initiatives addressing challenges posed by individual technologies or domains, and there are several in cyber, AI, laws, outer space, etc., none of the nuclear weapons related forums are discussing the intersection, if you will, between technology and nuclear risk, adding to, therefore, decreasing transparency and a climate of misperception. This needs to change, especially as some nuclear doctrines now carry the possibility of a nuclear response to any attack on critical infrastructure, for example, potentially including a cyber attack, and where space-based assets are considered critical infrastructure also. Unless the tools of arms control and norms of responsible behavior are adopted in new domains such as outer space, even benign or non-aggressive actions can be misunderstood or misinterpreted, potentially with nuclear outcomes. To take the example of outer space, the absence of an agreed framework for preventing the Extension of armed conflict into this domain leaves a vacuum for the development of overt counter-space capabilities, either for self-defense or to negate the perceived advantage of more advanced rivals, leading to dangerous arms races with unpredictable consequences. Advanced technologies are increasing nuclear risks through at least three avenues of impact. Excuse me. First, through qualitative improvements to the weapons themselves. Second, through the way in which they are increasing the possibility of miscalculation, escalating conventional conflict. And third, by exposing potential new vulnerabilities in nuclear weapons systems and structures. Now, qualitative improvements to nuclear weapons are part of ongoing modernization campaigns in all nuclear armed states. Such efforts do not only maintain the status quo, but are all creating new generations of weapons that are faster, stealthier, and more accurate. Combined with doctrines that call for tailored deterrence options, such qualitative improvements arguably make these weapons more attractive as usable options. To the second point, risks of miscalculation and escalation posed by the use of new technologies in armed conflict could include greater speed of information and the weapons themselves, ambiguous missions for weapons, problems with attribution and response, and concerns about the predictability of the technology itself. Concerns have been raised that accelerated tactical decision-making would mean less time for commanders to respond, and as a result, delegate more command and control to machines, which of course raises issues about human control and safety. Many experts have worried in particular about the black box nature of self-learning algorithms and the unpredictability that has been observed in their behavior. A second example relates to the increasing reliance by many states on missiles. The development of missiles with conventional payloads that can undertake missions previously only the domain of nuclear weapons has blurred the lines between the two. This creates ambiguity that could lead to dangerous uncertainty and miscalculation during a crisis. Nowhere are the issues of ambiguity and speed more clearly on display than in so-called hypersonic weapons. Here, the uncertainty as to whether a payload is nuclear or not and the intended target is compounded by a greatly reduced response time. Thirdly, technological advances have highlighted potential vulnerabilities in nuclear systems, including early warning and command and control systems. These include hacking or other cyber disruption, interference with early warning systems, or simply creating uncertainty about whether a system has been compromised. Networks, enhanced sensors, machine learning, data analysis, uncrewed vehicles could also theoretically reveal nuclear forces intended for second strikes, leading to concerns about incentivizing preemptive or use it or lose it kind of strikes. Each of these three factors I have outlined is mutually reinforcing. I am concerned that together they are increasing the role of nuclear weapons in national strategies and in turn the possibility of their potential use. So I've painted a rather dark picture, and of course this begs the question, what can we do about it and what should we do about it? I think part of the problem is that we don't have a complete understanding of ramifications of certain emerging technologies. There is a need for dialogue to enhance mutual understanding about their roles and implications. There is also a need to better understand the national assumptions that are driving acquisition of these technologies. In seeking solutions to prevent catastrophe, we should have technical experts at the table. This requires a development of a kind of multi-stakeholder forums that include, for instance, the tech industry to better understand the technologies in question. More broadly, if we are to reduce the growing risks of nuclear use, we need dialogue on transparency, confidence building measures related to escalation control, the speed of combat, ambiguity, and other issues that could lead to miscalculation. Such dialogues cannot be just between diplomats. They also need, we believe, to be military to military and also leader to leader kind of dialogues. Developing rules of the road and norms for responsible behavior is also critical to avoiding disaster. The two intergovernmental cyber processes and those on outer space and lethal autonomous weapon systems are leading the way in this respect. If the international community cannot, at this stage, agree on legally binding agreements, then it should seek, for example, political arrangements or even reciprocal unilateral declarations, for example, not to target command and control or early warning systems. But we may need at some point a kind of treaty-based agreements that have helped provide stability in the past, including on the most destabilizing, most dangerous kinds of weapons. In the near term, I can think of two useful immediate steps. First, all states should demonstrate restraint, including in the development and testing of new weapons. Second, extending the New START treaty would ensure strategic constraints and buy time for states to consult on new arrangements that inter alia address new developments and challenges, including the technological ones. Many, including the world's largest military powers, seem to agree that a new vision is needed for arms control and disarmament. In addition to technological developments, the overall security environment has shifted to a more complex mixture of increased geopolitical tension amongst the three great powers and the rise of multiple regional powers. There are increased proliferation risks in regions with both old and new conflicts. We are reaching a point probably where we need to take a fresh and comprehensive look at our approaches to eliminating nuclear weapons, maintaining prohibitions on other weapons of mass destruction, regulating the use of conventional weapons, and ensuring that new technologies are used in accordance with international laws and norms. Now, the next generation of global citizens will be absolutely key in crafting such a new vision. They will be responsible for developing the ethical, moral, and security and legal frameworks for the future. Young people around the world have a critical role to play in raising awareness and developing new ways to reduce threats from those weapons. For these reasons, we are stepping up our engagement with young people across the spectrum of our activities. In his agenda for disarmament, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres clearly articulated how young people have been a tremendous force for change in the world, noting how they have, and I quote, proved their power time and again in support of the cause of disarmament. Young campaigners have worked at the forefront of successful international campaigns to ban landmines, cluster munitions, and also nuclear weapons. Recognizing the importance of young people in bringing about change on International Youth Day in 2019, last year, the Office for Disarmament Affairs launched its youth outreach initiative, #YouthForDisarmament, and has now placed the 3 E's. These are engagement, education, empowerment at the core of its disarmament youth outreach efforts. The ultimate goal is to increase youth participation and create space for young people to make meaningful and substantive contributions to facilitating progress on disarmament. We firmly believe that imparting knowledge and skills to young people empowers them to make a contribution, both national, as both national and global citizens. Now, with generous support of Germany, we called on young people to apply for our new United Nations Youth Champions for Disarmament training program, which seeks to empower young people to work for disarmament in their communities. The program received thousands, literally thousands of applications from young people who are motivated to use their talents to help raise awareness and promote change for a more peaceful and secure world. In addition to young people interested in international affairs, we encourage those with backgrounds ranging from science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM field, to the creative arts to submit applications. The intention really is to bring together an eclectic and geographically diverse group of advocates for disarmament. Other next generation focused projects that we have launched recently include our project to engage with STEM students in Asia Pacific, helping them to think about the long-term impact of their design choices and become responsible innovators. Another is the Open Minds Project, an e-newsletter of the Youth for Disarmament initiative that provides resources for young people to meaningfully engage on disarmament and non-proliferation issues, to be launched later this year. We also have a dedicated website to provide space for young people to make meaningful, substantive contributions to facilitating progress on disarmament and achievement of sustainable development goals. Through our #YouthForDisarmament initiative, we will continue to work closely with member states, regional organizations, civil society, and academic institutions to promote the meaningful and inclusive participation and empowerment of youth on disarmament and non-proliferation issues. Now, I want to conclude with a very personal observation that relates to what I really think is a transformational trend on advocacy for change. This trend is starting to have real impact, I would say, both at the international as well as national levels. We are so used to processes of change or creation of new frameworks, norms, etc., occurring through top-down initiatives. The original idea for the organization that I serve, the United Nations, came from 2 visionary leaders that was captured in, as you know, the declaration by the United Nations of 1st of January 1942. However, the 3 most recent transformative movements, these are Me Too, Friday for Future, and now Black Lives Matter, all indicate that in today's world with social media and technological connectivity, bottom-up movements will have much greater impact. So when I talk about youth engagement and empowerment, I do not do so as lip service, and I really mean that. I believe that the continued relevance of multilateralism and international cooperation really depends on how we will be able to create space for youth and work with youth. As the turning point of the UN at 75, I am convinced that an important element of responsible leadership is to equip young people with knowledge and skills, but also to let them innovate and work with them.